Okay, year 10. So 2 ways to go through question 7. This is the first one. To find x in the picture using the sine rule on the left-hand triangle, and then to use the cosine rule on the right-hand triangle to find y. So if we quote the sine rule, leaving the unknown side at the top of each fraction, we could set x as a and b as the combination of 7.4 the side and 80 degrees the angle. So just setting up our sine rule equation, which is coming up now, allows us to find x accurately. Now the key here, year 10, was after you found x, not to round it. The second you round it, you lose marks because your final answer will be slightly different because you've used a slightly less accurate value for x. So this is our value for x, 5.3133. It's in your calculator, so just leave it there for the time being. What we're going to do next is, now we know the value of this side, and we know the value of this side, and we can figure out this angle, we can set up the cosine rule so that y squared is the subject of the equation. So here comes the cosine rule with all the substitutions made. I'm going to use x as the value of x for the first step. But really, what I mean is this number here. If you've used 5.3 as a rounded value, that's the mistake, and it should be pointed out to you. Now you can use the ANS key, that's the answer key, and put that value where x is, and you could just put that all in your calculator straight away. If you don't want to do that, you have to square these two numbers and add them together. That gives you 61.87 and so on. And you have to multiply 2 by 5.3 and 5.8. And if you do that, you get 61.634. So this, strictly speaking, is the next step. There's a lot of people doing a subtraction and leaving cos 100 there. That is a mistake. So be warned, there are mistakes to make in the calculation here that are, strictly speaking, BIDMAS errors. You are multiplying between these two terms, and that overrides the subtraction that's happening. So the subtraction is the last thing. In fact, it becomes an addition because this value itself is negative. When you square root, you get 8.52 to 3 significant figures as asked for in the equation. If you want to know, the best thing for you to do is to use your calculator at this step, put it in, press equals. It should give you 72.5739, provided you've used the accurate version of 5.3. Then you square root as your final step. Lots of errors made there, but they're needless ones. Take that advice. Okay, there is an alternative way of doing this that enough people did that I do want to share. And the big picture goes, step 1, you're finding AD. So setting x as the other side in the triangle. And we're going to use the sine rule to find that. Then the second step would be to take x, add it to 5.8, so we know that AC, and then we go on to find side y, BC, using the cosine rule on the largest triangle you can see, ABC. So there's some errors to make still, even if we spot the method to doing it, and they largely revolve around finding x and rounding it. That's the issue that people came across, and I want to go through it a little bit here. So setting up the sine rule gives you x over sine 55, which is the third angle in the triangle. And so x comes out as you see on the screen. 6.155. Now rounding to 6.2 was a popular mistake, but it was a mistake. You cannot round a value midway through your calculation and expect to get the exact right answer at the end. So we should be using that or the ANS key on our calculator to use the exact value. If we add it to the number 5.8, we get 11.95523, which will be the side length you need to use. So adding on the 5 in your calculator, pressing equals, now that is stored in your memory under the answer key. So where I write 11.95525 in the working, you can use the 3-letter key ANS and it will use those values. Now if you put all that in your calculator and get it without error, it should come out as exactly the same value as in the previous solution. So when you square root it, you get the exact same value as the previous solution. You do, however, have to make sure you're using the full accurate values of that side length there. Lots of people rounding to 12, and that was your mistake. You would get slight deviation in your final answer.